Oh, how exciting is this? Hey, Pamela. I know I'm just going to get so enthralled with all of you. I'll forget why I'm here. Welcome everyone to sort of like Harriet. It's so great to be with you all again, if not like there virtually, if not in person. I kind of feel like I miss all the hugs and in person, but well, hey, you know, at least, well, we all get to drink whatever we want in the sanctuary now, right? You know, nobody needs to wear pants anymore. Well, I'm kind of excited about what I want to share with you today. For about, I'll say the last 6 years or so, I've been teaching that once we hit 2016, life was just going to get incredibly extreme in all kinds of unprecedented ways. And this is all a result of an evolutionary shift that humanity is in the midst of right now. I've been just talking about this really for about 6 years, where everything old is falling apart, just as a lot of new things are coming together. And of course, the falling apart tends to be a lot more disruptive and in our face than all that's coming together. Although really what's coming together, what has already come together in the last 20 years or so has changed us, I would say, just as fundamentally as all the crazy of our world, you know, is changing us. I forgot to give a little introduction to myself. Maybe I should do that. I'm Lynn Woodland. I'm the author of a couple of books. One is Holding a Butterfly. One is called, the latest is called The Breakthrough Point, a Spiritual Activist Guide to Thriving in a Modern World. They're both about miraculous experience, what gives rise to miracles, and how ordinary people can live miraculous lives. I used to be a ministerial guide at Lake Harriet. A million years ago. It was from about 2000 to 2006. So I have a special place in my heart for Lake Harriet, even though I only come there a couple times a year nowadays. But anyway, that's this change that's happening to all of us, to humanity. It really, as bad as the world looks, it's really about us all coming together in new ways and really taking this huge evolutionary leap. And I explain all this in quite a bit of depth in my latest book, The Breakthrough Point. So I'm not going to take a deep dive into that here. But, you know, when I first started talking about all this stuff in 2014, like, oh my God, 2016 is going to be a tipping point. After that, everything's going to be pretty unprecedented. It's all going to get extreme. Little did I know what we were in for, you know, what we were in for, you know, what was coming really just in a handful of years. And I'll tell you lately, every time I start to feel the stress of living in today's world, you know, whether I'm literally just watching my post office burn down on CNN or seeing how coronavirus cases are spiking out of control because everybody's trying to get back to normal life, or, you know, anytime I turn on the daily news, really, anytime, you know, when I start to feel the weight of it all, because it's hard not, even, you know, even when we're in a pretty good place in life, it's hard not to take in everything that's going on in the world. I hear my inner guidance just getting louder and louder, just telling me that this is no time to let stress weigh me down. This is time to use my skills. And I've been hearing this, I was starting to get that message really loud. And you know, I've been a spiritual teacher of one sort or another. I mean, as my, you know, real job, it used to be when I did this when I was like 30, people would say, well, what's your real job? This has been my real job for about, well, more than 40 years, since I was about 20 years old. So I think of myself as someone who does use my skills. But the voice I was hearing, you know, it wasn't that quiet inner whisper of spirit, you know. It was not that, man, Lynn, use your skills. It was like this really big, booming, loud, even kind of a little bit rude voice, like, Lynn, use your skills, use your damn skills. And, you know, I really felt like my inner guidance was calling for something more from me. I wasn't quite sure what. Now, any of you out there, any of you, and I'm guessing all of you, who've meditated, who've prayed, who've practiced a new thought or law of attraction exercise, all of you have skills too. And even if you're totally new to consciousness-based practices, maybe if this is your first exposure, my guess is that you happened to show up here today of all days because you too have skills, you know, even if you're not aware of them. And, you know, those of us who are most drawn to consciousness-based practices tend to be the same ones who just soak up all the weight of the world. You know, not just our own lives, but the weight of the world. We tend to be a little more sensitive. And if you're a millennial out there, I know a lot of you are, you know, a little more my age and have been doing this stuff for years. If you're a millennial or younger, please know that you've been chosen to be on this earth now because you're the ones to carry us forward. You're the biggest ever generation, and you do have a higher degree of sensitivity baked into you. That's why millennials have sometimes been rudely called snowflakes. You're sensitive. That's part of what is going to take us forward. It's one of the necessary qualities. But anyway, as I listened to my screaming inner guidance, it basically let me know that carrying the emotional burdens of the world's woes, or even going into a funk over my own, you know, pretty minor woes, is just a luxury that I would say none of us with skills can afford in these extreme times we're in. It only makes us, well, I'll say it not only makes us miserable, it makes us useless. So instead of taking all that on, it really is time to use our skills. This is why we've spent all those hours in meditation or prayer or classes over the years. We thought we were working on ourselves. Really, we were. But really, it has brought us to now when the world needs us to use our skills. I'm kind of preaching at you like this because that's how my inner guidance talks to me. I'm kind of like showing you how my inner guidance was talking to me. So I'm sorry if I'm getting too in your face. If we forget to use our skills, we're just going to get sucked into the crazy. And you know, what is the crazy? Well, just turn on the news for 5 minutes on any day, any time. That's the crazy. It's always, it's 24/7. And if we're not part of the world coming together in unity and well-being, we're just going to get sucked into the world falling apart. There's just not a lot of neutral ground anymore. That's part of what's different now. There's not a lot of space to just sit it out and watch it all and kind of wait around. We're just either with evolution or we're with everything that's crumbling. Now, the good news about this is that, you know, when we find ourselves beginning to sink into a funk and we choose to turn it around by using our skills to raise our vibration, we raise the world along with ourselves. And we also start living a more joyful and fulfilling life. Life just starts unfolding in a way where we feel blessed even in the midst of the world falling apart around us. We somehow live this charmed life where we are helpers and really pretty happy. Now I'm going to get more specific about this using our skills stuff. We're going to do some actual experience with it in a bit, but I want to just, you know, give you a taste of what I mean. by sharing a bit of my own experience from some weeks back when all this started happening, this my inner guidance getting really bossy in my face stuff. It was a little bit before the murder of George Floyd. Right before that event, I mean, really just a couple days before it, I found my inner guidance very clearly telling me that I am safe. And at the time, I thought it was related to, coronavirus, which is always scary. Going out of the house is kind of scary these days. And my inner guidance communicated this to me via this really deep feeling of peace and well-being and a sense that everything was going to be fine. Now, I felt that, but of course I had to question my inner guidance. I do that. I said, are you really telling me that I'm safe? Is that what you're telling me? Are you trying to tell me that, inner guidance? Are you really telling me that? At which point I saw my very first of the season, beautiful monarch butterfly flit by. Now, butterflies are really special to me. My first book is called Holding a Butterfly. So, okay, I got it. I'm safe. I believed it. And then, of course, in the next few days after George Floyd was killed, I mean, all hell broke loose, very close to where I live. And I'll say my high vibrational feeling of safety really did carry me through that first night of watching CNN and just seeing the police precinct, not that far from where I live, all being burned down, people just going crazy. I maintained. Now, the next night, the riots just got way closer to home, blocks from home. And I watched again on CNN, fires just blazing out of control and buildings burning blocks away. I kind of started to lose that safe feeling, and as we sat just glued to the TV, my husband was sitting there totally freaked out. He was not so comforted by me telling him, just relax. My inner guidance says we're safe. I saw a butterfly, right? Butterfly, right? He just didn't get that. He didn't get the whole butterfly thing. So I'm starting to think, well, isn't this the time when it's appropriate to start getting really freaked out? I'm watching my post office and my bank burning on national TV. It's just blocks from my house. There's no police presence anywhere. Isn't this when, really close sirens everywhere just takes priority over that?
Military helicopter?
Yeah, my husband's screaming, military helicopters everywhere. Yeah. Isn't this when the sound, those sounds should be listened to and direct our emotional response? Like I said, I'm not seeing any butterflies flit by on CNN at that point. But I'll tell you, that's when my inner guidance got really loud. That's when it got really pushy, bossy, in my face. Lynn, use your damn skills. So, right then and there, everything was burning down. My husband was freaking out, helicopters right overhead, sirens everywhere, no police anywhere. Commentators are wondering, where are the police? So I just started then and there, using my skills. And my first thought was, okay, how am I going to do this? I'll just send it all love and light, because that's what we light workers do, right? We just send everything love and light, love and light, love and light. But my inner guide said no to that, said nix on that. It showed me very specific things to do with my mind. And first it said, make your neighborhood invisible. Create this impermeable curtain along the main street between the riots and my house, and just make your whole neighborhood invisible. So I imagined it kind of like the train station to Hogwarts. That's totally invisible to muggles. It just totally disappeared it. I instructed my husband to go turn on our porch light, but turn off some of the decorative lighting we have at night. You know, nothing fancy, nothing special here, no wizards in this house. And above all, I was really trusted to, or I was instructed rather, to just really trust that safe feeling and not soak in anybody else's fear, whether it's my husband or the whole world's. And up to this point, the national news coverage was kind of aghast that there was just no police presence in this riotous area that was burning down. But then about 20 minutes later, after I used my skills, along came a row of 350 National Guard troops. And they were marching in this close file, one behind the other, like little toy soldiers. They're about that far apart. They were so close. And they marched, and then they formed this line exactly where I envisioned it, between the riots and my neighborhood. And very soon the crowd just poof, dispersed. And over the next few days, I kept doing this. I would turn my attention inward, and I'd be nudged in all kinds of ways to use my mind and intention in some kind of specific way to shift, be it immediate dangers for myself and my community or the world at large, and just to raise the vibration toward higher good. And it was amazing. Each time I gave even a little bit of attention and intention to this, I'd see some positive shift, often in just startlingly literal and serendipitous ways. I mean, there were so many, I can't talk about them all here. I'll mention a few though, because some just gave my husband and I chills in how literally what I was imagining would manifest. There's one point we watched this ominous looking line of military vehicles just make its way down our street, looking like they were going to caravan down our block. And I had just closed off energetically the opening to my street. Now, the night before when I did that, it was kind of funny. The house across the street that I'd also given some attention to, using my skills, because it kind of seemed like Satan lived there. They had kind of that vibe. It was that guy who lived there who found the great big giant highway barrels, rolled them up to the top of our street, so literally nobody could drive down our street. The next day they were gone, but I just kept the energy going. And we watched this caravan about to make its way down our block. And the minute it came to our street, which would have been an easy throughway, one block and then you get to a main drag, it just hung a left, went into another neighborhood. And then one time in the afternoon, one afternoon, I was just guided to hold intention for no loss of life. No loss of life. And a little bit later, that same day, I turned on CNN to see this ginormous oil tanker barreling down the highway into crowds of demonstrators who are all on this highway. And commentators later were just calling it miraculous that no one was killed or seriously injured. Even the driver, who was starting to be attacked by angry mobs, got saved by a group of protesters who protected him. So, you know, once I started using my skills, I really did feel safe and peaceful through the whole weekend. And a few days later, I was guided to raise the vibration of the White House. And it was very specific. It wasn't about targeting a person. It was just about raising the vibration of the White House, non-specifically. So I did that, and it appeared to me in very specific ways. It was almost like the DNA of the White House was changing. And the next morning, I woke up to this amazing news of beautiful, ginormous letters painted all down 16th Street, right up to the White House, saying, "Black Lives Matter!" Woo! You know, so is this all delusional, magical thinking? You may be asking yourself, does Lynn need a little medication maybe? I'll tell you, as long as it keeps working like this and I just feel happy, I'm fine off my meds. But here's a little story. What?
You don't have meds.
Oh, my husband says, I don't have meds. Well, you're right. I don't have meds. Here's a story of what happened when I let my vibration just really sink into the muck. And it was immediately following that same late May weekend of all the rioting. Yeah, it was kind of the end of May, beginning of June, and I'd spent the last few days, you know, with my mind really poised and at attention every minute. And of course, my husband had spent his days completely poised and at attention every minute, you know, with a hose and a fire extinguisher in the yard, just waiting for the Molotov cocktail to come. And when relative peace was restored, we were just sitting in the garden, you know, kind of side by side, emotionally exhausted. And then, of course, we promptly got into a really stupid fight over nothing and went to bed mad. What do you do when you're emotionally exhausted? Well, that's what we did. And I just woke up in a deep funk the next morning. I was nowhere near my high vibrational state. And what I did, of course, is I stupidly opened an email attachment that I instantly knew I shouldn't have, which meant poor Bill had to spend the next 2 days of his life dealing with a virus, during which time he got phished and felt horrible about that, like he should have known better too. And then we had to change every password. And at the end of this ordeal, Bill just felt beaten and battered. He'd been thoroughly beaten by technology, totally dejected. And, you know, I felt like in that same way that every time I raised my vibration in a really intentional way over the last few days, I saw immediate results. I felt that I was being shown exactly what happens when I just give myself that luxury of wallowing about in, you know, self-pitying misery. It's what I was saying earlier, like we either have to be working with our vibration or we're going to get sucked into the crazy. There's not a lot of neutral ground anymore. And so there we were both miserable. It was late at night. He'd finally finished all this tech stuff, hadn't quite started the changing every single password yet. And I just asked him, could we just agree to keep our vibration high together? And he just said, yeah, sure. And he just agreed. We had no plan. We had no practice, just this agreement. We didn't say, okay, we're going to meditate together every morning. We're going to do this. It's just like, let's just keep our vibration high. Okay, honey? It's like, yeah, yeah. And somehow, without doing anything, we've just been having this blissful experience for weeks and weeks now. It's been a long time. We're just falling more and more in love with each other. We're having this blissful life. We're just feeling blessed every moment. And here's the true miracle in all of this. Here's how I know something has really shifted. We managed to spend a whole day doing taxes together without snapping at each other once. That has never happened before once. We've been married 12 years, never once, ever. Like, oh my God, praise the Lord, it's a miracle. So this is a little bit of my experience. I want to just lead us through a process so that you can do this yourself and have your own experiences. It's going to be about just how to use our skills in some of the specific ways I was guided to. So first thing, just give some thought as to what you feel most guided to shift toward the better. And I would start with something personal, because we'll get bigger toward the end. We'll get into extending this to the bigger world around us. Start with something more personal to you. Maybe it's something you'd like to manifest in your life, or something you'd like to shift or heal. Maybe it just relates to feeling safe in a scary world. Just see what feels most important. And just get something like that in mind. And then close your eyes. Close your eyes. And quiet your thoughts with some just deep, slow breaths. Just inhale deeply and exhale just as deeply. And just let the rhythm of your breath relax you and just take you deeper. Just feel that shift into quiet peace. And just let your sense of identification shift from the density and the limitation of matter to the bright, clear, beautiful energy that is your true essence. And see the cells of your physical body just start to light up and radiate with this energy. And now all the particles that make up your body are becoming less dense. The molecules, the atoms, the subatomic particles. They're all spreading out, vibrating in love and light. And as you leave the density of matter behind, you enter a realm of limitless possibilities where time and space and natural law have no bearing. And as you just move into this different space, just take a moment to hold your intention, whatever intention you have to create a shift. Hold it very lightly in mind. Imagine it outside of your body, as if you're holding it at chest level, just like you'd hold a butterfly that lit in your hand for a moment. And now let your mind become very soft and unfocused. And ask your inner guidance to show you the right way in to create this shift. In other words, ask how to vision it or hear it or feel it in a way that will most efficiently create this change for the better. Because you are moving energy around. What you're doing is you're moving the energetic reality that underlies the physical manifestation. You're asking how to do that most effectively. And just let your mind play with this, just very lightly. Don't strain, let your imagination play and your mind free associate. Just see what comes to you. See if something pops into mind that's particularly vivid and intense and clear. And when you get that vividness, you know you've found the way in to creating this positive shift. It's as if your imagining just clicks into place. So just spend a moment with that. Play with it a bit. See if you can get that really vivid experience of like, ah, click. And when you've got it, just be with that experience and just enjoy it as the lightest, the easiest of daydreams. Don't strain or try to hold it once the vividness fades. Just, let it go, poof, as freely as you'd let a butterfly fly from your hands. And just feel at peace. Just take a moment to just feel pure, perfect peace. And now bring to mind something in the world around you that you'd like to shift toward the highest good. And don't specify what the outcome should look like. Just hold the issue lightly. Again, kind of hold it about here, about chest level, lightly, like you'd hold a butterfly that lit in your hand. Just hold it with the intention to create a higher vibration, a higher vibrational reality. And as you hold it lightly, just like a butterfly in your hand, ask to be shown the way in, the way to vision it, to hear it, to feel it, and to most efficiently make it better. Don't specify how. And just play with that. Imagine that, you are changing the very DNA of this situation. You don't have to go in and micromanage it. You're just changing some underlying reality that is going to completely change the outer reality. Maybe in ways that are so quick and immediate that will give you chills. But don't worry about that part. Just see if you can find that click, that really vivid experience. And then just enjoy it for as long as that experience remains vivid. Once you lose the vividness, then you're just straining your brain. It's time to let it go. Just be in it for as long as it just feels pleasant, comforting, comfortable. And when it loses, when its vividness, when it starts to fade, just let it go again, poof, lightly as you'd let butterflies just fly out of your hands. And really, that's all you need to do with these images for now. And going forward, you can return to these images really lightly from time to time, but only as long as they come back to you in a very vivid, clear, emotionally present way. You don't want to try to make this into work. Once you're working at this, it's not working for you. It's better to just let it go completely than to bring it back and make it work. But at some point, if you're so guided, you could ask to be shown a new way in to the same issue and do the process over, being shown a whole new way in. Now, if you didn't get anything in mind when you did this exercise, try doing it again just as you're falling asleep. Trust that your subconscious mind will be working on this during sleep time. Now, before you come completely back, while you're still in that soft, open, high vibrational place, take a moment to give attention to the offering toward Lake Harriet. So I always believe that the letting go of money toward our spiritual source is a very important part of really giving roots and physical manifestation to our intention, because money is such a physical symbol. So ask your inner guidance what the right offering to give toward this Lake Harriet Spiritual Community Sunday service and toward this spiritual experience that we're having right now together. And let an amount just come to you. I always think there is that amount that isn't part of the shoulds, like, oh, I should give this much. It's not part of the fear of, oh, I can't give that much. It's the spiritually correct amount for you that in some way matches the value of the shift you're calling for. Just let that amount come up. And if you'd like to turn this into a prosperity exercise, really imagine transforming that energy of money into love. You know, just give your money a charge of love as you send it out. And imagine that as Lake Harriet receives it, it really goes into a channel that disseminates that love all around the planet. And of course, anything we give with a vibration of love, we magnetize back to us. So that's a good way to get money rolling back to you. Let go of your money generously and in love. Really let it go again, like, you know, the butterflies that you let fly away from your hands, and just see what happens. Now you'll be able to complete the financial transaction when we're done. So don't worry about that now, just get that amount and then bring yourself back. I believe Gary always has on the screen here a link to donate, and if you can't find it, I'm sure there's one on the chat. It's in the chat. It's in the chat. But wait on that. Wait on that. You know, I find the hardest part of using my skills is simply to remember to do it. And not just when the world is burning down, you know, around me, or when I just want to scream at the news report on my TV and throw things at the TV screen, or even when I, you know, to really bring it to the everyday, not just the extreme. You know, it's easy to forget to do that. And for me, I understand that I am a spiritual teacher because I teach what I need to learn, that this is part of how I structure into my life those opportunities to remember to use my skills. I always say, you know, I just need it a little more than all of you. That's why I do this for a living. But I think it really is helpful to have a structured experience, especially gathering with other people like this, even if it's in the virtual realms, because there is something about the amplifying effect of group energy that makes things more powerful. It just does. If you don't believe it, there's 2 books I want you to read together. One is my book called The Breakthrough Point, but don't stop there. Read at the same time Lynn McTaggart's book, The Power of 8, because she approaches group energy as a clinician, a scientist, and gives all the science. I approach it as more from the clinical perspective of how to do it. They're a very good pair, and I'm not just saying that so they all go and buy my book. They really are just a go-to pair. Anyway, toward this end of a structured opportunity, I'm actually going to be offering a class through Lake Harriet, and it's going to be through Zoom, just like this one, and I'm doing it as a fundraiser for Lake Harriet. I'm doing it as an opportunity for several, you know, kind of new thought, spiritual centers that God knows is hard times for centers that can't meet anymore. And so I thought this is something I can do. Just I'm turning my weekly Wednesday night class into something that I'm doing on behalf of other organizations. So this is a class that will be every Wednesday starting in September 9th. I'm not going to take any of the proceeds. It all goes to Lake Harriet. And it's going to meet every Wednesday evening from 7 to approximately 8 p.m. It's called the Miracles Course. It's aimed at living a miraculous life. So there's some content, some how-to stuff, and then there's some group energetic work. So it's about changing our lives in the moment, not just learning stuff to take with you. It's about really doing it in the here and now. It's interactive, so there's opportunities for you to ask questions. If you log in early, I spend some time doing little mini intuitive readings for people. And, you know, it's a lot of fun. So I'm hoping you will support Lake Harriet and yourself by checking that out. I'm thinking you're doing it for an offering, Gary, as opposed to a fee, but I'm not sure.